Hello, good evening. Welcome to episode 66 of Rooted in Wisdom, a daily dose of Donna. Today, I'm sharing with you why your comfort zone is not a good benchmark. So, most of us have heard and are familiar, at least in some degree, what our comfort zone is, right? That's where everything feels good, there's familiarity. And when we decide to try something new or someone's introducing a new concept to us, we start to feel a little uncomfortable. And so that's what we're going to talk about, why that shows up, what does that mean, and all of that. So let me just check. I want to check my audio real quick since I've been having problems. So let me just. Good evening. Okay, cool. All right, yay. We're in business. Excellent. So earlier today, actually just a little while ago, one of my besties shared something on her timeline. Uh, Hold on a second. Oh my God. Has nothing to do with our comfort zone. But anyway, Kanan left and I told him he had to order me food and send it. So, all right, hopefully I get through my live before my food gets here since the cats probably won't answer the door. All right, so where was I? Oh my God. Stop messaging me. You're throwing me off. So, anyway, um, so the quote that she had up that caught my attention about your comfort zone is not a good benchmark reminded me so much about the work that I do with my clients and for those who come in my workshops as well, and that is moving toward what we want, and we don't have it because we're so uncomfortable moving out of our comfort zone. And so the quote, I'll read the quote to you from today, and then I'll go on to covering something slightly connected to that. It's like, when you're not used to being confident, confidence feels like arrogance. And, when we think about this, I think about times when, I'll do something that demonstrates my confidence, or I'll make a comment about something, and someone may in the past have pushed back about how that feels a little maybe a little snooty to them, or seems a little arrogant. And it's interesting because when you get this, right, when you understand that your confidence and someone else's lack of confidence in how they can perceive you is about them and not about you. And our own feeling of wanting to push out and express ourselves in our confidence when it's unfamiliar to us can feel like we're being, um, as I would have may have been said to me growing up, a little too big for your britches, and may come across as arrogant or a little too stuck on yourself, whatever those things, that messages that you might have in your belief system based on some past experience of what maybe others have influenced on you, whether it's just society in general or those people of influence in your life. How about this one? When you're used to being passive, assertiveness feels like aggression. It's so true, isn't it? If you've, if you're more passive, more of the people pleaser, more of the go along to get along, then being assertive in maybe speaking up about something that is not right, either not right for you, or you're trying, feeling like, oh, I would really like to speak up to protect that person, but it feels so uncomfortable, right? Or just really as a protection for yourself, when if you're a passive person, a people pleaser, then it's easy sometimes for others to always be pushing things off on you because, well, you never say no. And so that makes it easy for them. And so at a time now when you're like, okay, I've reached my tipping point, or I'm tired of people taking advantage of me, or I don't like this anymore, whatever it is, you're finally stepping into your courage. That can really feel like aggression. All right. So and when people are used to you being the passive one, when you finally are asserting your truth or saying, hey, I don't feel like this is fair, they're like, well, look who's all of a sudden showing their aggression, which is not true. You're just speaking your truth and creating a boundary for yourself, right? Okay, how about this third one? When you're not used to getting your needs met, prioritizing yourself feels selfish. This is a chronic that I certainly see with my clients a lot, and that is not prioritizing their needs because, for whatever reason, whatever needs may not be met, that when they start creating those boundaries and shifting the way they spend their time, it can feel really uncomfortable because it can seem selfish when you start telling people no. so anyway, that followed with then why you can't trust your comfort zone, because that gut feeling, people used to ask me this a lot, right? Is it our gut feeling, is that our intuition, is that a true knowing, is it instinct, what is that? So I always say there's instinct and there's intuition, right? So our instinct is that, I'll say, that gut feeling that you get when it feels like shit's about to go wrong, right? When you're like, oh, this is uncomfortable. Someone just asked me to do a presentation or call this client back and, ask for, more money or whatever, whatever these things are that would make you feel uncomfortable because it's something that is unfamiliar to you that you're not used to doing. Even just speaking up for yourself, having to go and talk to a colleague or a client or a family member about something that has crossed a boundary with you that you're just no longer going to tolerate, right? So that's our instinct that's kicking in. When it's fear, this is how I always say the difference is, right? That gut feeling, that instinct, when fear kicks in, that's our primitive response to, I'll say, things that are unfamiliar to us, right? Our intuition is very different. Intuition is that certainty, that inner knowing, like you feel it within you, right? That you're certain that you're right, or that, what you're sensing is correct and true for you. So those are the two things, and people will often say, oh, I get that sick feeling, that's my intuition. Probably not. That's probably fear. Fear because something unfamiliar is coming your way. And it could be too, if you're just starting to do some inner work and you're like, oh, is that intuition or is that something else, right? Is this something that seems true, or is this something I'm growing through? And when it's I'm growing through, then that's usually where that fear, that or that anxiety or that doubt starts to kick in, because you're moving away from what is has been familiar and comfortable to a new place. So our comfort zone is this familiar place, right? It's also where we have the most control, or at least we think we have control because we know what to expect, either from ourselves or from others or from the environment that we're in. There's that sense of knowing. So, what's the science behind the discomfort of getting beyond our comfort zone? So, it's not really that complicated. It's learned patterns. It's neural connections in our brain that have been reinforced through repetition. And then it's that internal sense that our body is familiar with, um, because of repetition, right? Like you could probably get up in the morning and with your eyes closed, your body, and without consciousness, right? Your body is on automatic. It's going to wherever that first place is. You go in the morning, you haven't even thought about it. It's a learned pattern. So when you start to break that pattern, now it seems like there's a little disruption, in our neural networks, right? Because the brain is already on automatic going, oh, we're supposed to go this way. And you're like, oh no, we're going to go this way today. And it's like, wait, what? Why? So, and that's why for often it's hard for people to break habits, right? Or create new habits, even if they're better for you, um, because usually they are, because of those neural networks and that already conditioning and training in the body. So, the learn patterns. When we don't have control, there is this unknown territory, this unfamiliarity. What happens? Right? Fear and doubt kicks in. Our comfort zone is based on a few things. It's based on our experience, it's based on our identity, it's based on our self perception, all of which create our emotional self and our beliefs and the stories we tell ourselves and have been spoken into us by others or influenced by societal, influences, whether it's through seeing, hearing, experiencing, or whatever. So when we say, your comfort zone is not a good benchmark, you have to go back to what are my beliefs? What are these experiences that have shaped or created these patterns of my comfort zone? So when we look at growth, right? So growth in any area of our life, it requires new experiences, it requires new perspectives, and usually a different emotional state than, um, than where you are, what you're moving away from, or what you're moving toward. So any area of life that we want to grow or change, right? Whether that is, um, our way of being, or, um, a state change that we want to have, or, an experience, right? Whatever those things are that we want to move toward, there's this gap. And so over here, that where we are now is where that comfort zone is. And we have to consider what created this state, what has created the emotion behind why I'm afraid to move over here, what is the belief that has shaped where I am now, or, um, yeah, this emotional state, this belief, this, conditioning that is preventing me from moving to that next level, right? Of growing, being, doing, achieving, whatever. So how do we then, so it's looking at where those patterns came from, right? Who created those beliefs within you? What was the experience when we have even very small, um, being exposed to a negative environment or having a small traumatic experience? They shape a belief within us, and it creates an emotional state within us that says, don't move out of this place because it's not safe over here, again, because that's the primitive part of the brain that has created that conditioning or that belief within you. So So whether it was our way, so whether we want to create a new way of being or a new skill, how do we expand beyond our comfort zone? So I'm going to give you 3 ways to expand your comfort zone. So one is through, I think I've been alluding to it here, new experiences. But it doesn't have to be like jumping in and, going from 0 to 120 immediately. It can be just starting to inch your way into new experiences. So what is that um, thing that you want to be, do, or have, right? And then what are some little things that you can do that would move you toward that without putting you in a full blown stress response, but just raise your anxiety just slightly. And so you can do that a few times, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad, right? What if you're a very shy person and you want to be a public speaker? Well, a way of inching your way into that would be to speak to people when you are out in public, like have a conversation with your waitress, or always engage in opening a dialogue with somebody that's checking you out at the grocery store, or pumping your gas, or whatever these little things are. Speak to a complete stranger when you're out. Ask for help where you would normally not ask for help. These are ways to start in that way, starting to feel more comfortable expressing yourself in an unfamiliar space. The second way that you can expand your comfort zone is by shifting your beliefs. So, what are the beliefs that you have around if we used the confidence or being passive or whatever those things are? That where did they come from? What are those beliefs? And then what would be, if you weren't that, if you didn't have that belief, what would be a more empowering belief, or a belief that someone would have that was more like that person or that way of being that you want to be? So who could you identify with that is like, has that trait or that way of being that you want to be? And what is a belief that you think they have about themselves? And how could you create that and believe that for yourself? And then the third thing is releasing the negative emotions. So, one of the tools that I use, and especially when I'm feeling stuck in getting started in my routine for the day, is what is creating a block for me? What am I feeling resistance to in getting into action around today? So, my favorite tool for that is not an affirmation. It's not just get your ass up and do it. Nope. You've got to release the emotions. It's about the emotional state. And you cannot talk yourself out of your emotions. You have to fight energy with energy. And that is EFT tapping. The emotional freedom technique is a great energy based and psychology based tool to release those emotions. So release the negative emotions from your body, shift your beliefs into something that is more empowering and like that some other imaginary person or a real person, seeing yourself, visualizing yourself as that person. What would your beliefs be to be, do, or have that? And then start introducing yourself to those new experiences to expand your comfort zone little by little. So if your comfort zone is like this right now, just start little by little, and then soon you will not have any fear or feel anxious, or maybe just slightly, because a little anxiety is good because it keeps us moving. So, so that is why your comfort zone is not a good benchmark, because usually the things that keep us in our comfort zone are keeping us small and are based on things that are not truths for us and are not really attached to our highest and best authentic self. And that is episode 66 for today. I'll see you tomorrow.